Time. Wow, it's one of those things that never stops. For rich or poor, tall or short, no matter where you live, it keeps moving forward. Time. You know what? It's a precious gift, an invaluable resource that can't be bought or sold. Every second that passes is gone forever. It's behind us, and how we use time defines so much of who we are. Hi, I'm Paul Antunes, and this episode will ask, do you feel in control of your time? Or does time control you? Are you investing it wisely or letting it slip through your fingers? Together, we'll explore what it means to manage our time with purpose. And of course, the Bible will guide us through. Roll the intro. Welcome back. So excited you're joining us today. And as you can see, I've got some amazing people with me with great stories and amazing backgrounds. So let's get to know you folks here. We're so glad that you're here. And I'm going to start to my right. Please let us know who you are, stuff that you love to do, about your family, your education, and why time is an important topic for you.
Yeah, so my name is Lorianne, and I'm an early childhood educator. So we focus a lot on early brain development in children.
Yeah.
So that's something passionate to me. I like to talk about children and how their brain grows and how they learn. And so, yeah, I'm actually a homeschool mom now.
Okay, good for you.
Worked as an ECE for a long time. And then when my son came along, we kind of toyed between what we were going to do moving forward. And as a family, we kind of decided just to stay home for a little bit longer and, just kind of give my son the opportunity to just play more, honor his childhood for a little bit longer before school begins.
That's powerful, actually.
Yeah. And we've just been homeschooling and doing that for now. We found a great community in my city, and we get a lot done in field trips and things, and
of course,
and a lot of time together with friends. And time management is important because what I found as my day became completely up to me,
yes,
it's almost like fully unstructured,
right?
And I have to figure out what routine I want to implement and how things are going to go,
right?
And sometimes when that's up to you, and there's like too much leeway as to what's going on, it's like really hard you'd think it would be easier to manage your time.
Exactly.
But it can be a little bit hard, and there's always things to do at home.
That's
and
right.
Calendars to manage and, and all those things to do. So time management is something that I feel like I'm still perfecting.
There you go.
But yeah,
we're all there.
Yeah, it's important to me.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, it's wonderful to have you here, Lori.
Thank you.
All right. Please introduce yourself and what you love to do, your family. Yeah.
Sure. Hi, my name is Johan.
Excellent to have you here, Johan.
Thank you so much. I'm
Yeah.
so glad to be here. So I'm a teacher. So we're both in the education.
There
field,
you go.
right?
There
Okay.
you go.
So I have been a teacher for the last 6 years,
Okay.
and I'm married. I have 4 boys.
Okay.
Which,
Yeah.
a lot of
busy.
energy.
That's busy.
Quite busy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they definitely keep me busy, as you said. And things that I love to do, maybe start there. I love playing basketball. Love watching sports
Cool.
with the kids. I can tell you that I lost my first basketball game to my son the other day.
Oh, you're kidding me.
Yeah.
Wow. How did that feel?
Well, it's bittersweet.
Yes,
You're
yes.
proud, but at the same time, you're like, oh, I'm getting older.
Yeah.
He would say it's a skill issue, though. It's not necessarily age.
There you go. Okay. You're
Yes.
losing your edge, Dad.
Yeah.
According to him.
According to him, exactly.
Yes, yes.
It's all about perspectives.
That's right. That's right.
So, I can talk a little bit about why I became a teacher. It was a
Please.
second career basically to me.
Okay.
So I I always had this fascination with teaching, and it's always just been part of my life. My
Yep.
my dad was a pastor, so each church we went to, I always was involved in music, teaching
Right.
choirs,
Right.
involved in Sabbath school,
Right.
all those sorts of things. So it just kind of naturally went into it. It was like I feel like it was a calling for me,
Okay.
and then I eventually got into it. I think time management is important because my whole educational journey,
Right.
I was because it's a second career, I was
Yes.
raised in a family and
Yes.
going to school at the same time. So
Wow.
I had these experiences where I was getting really overwhelmed
Of course. Of course.
because of all the different things that I had to juggle in my life.
Yep.
So time management was really something that was important. And I was kind of starting to do it without any expert knowledge, so to speak. It's just testing out different ways or making mistakes and learning from the mistakes. And as I went along, I got a little bit better at it.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I
Thank
like
you.
that. You got a little better at it.
Yes.
And you said we're constantly learning and trying to
Yes,
figure this all
absolutely.
out, right?
Yep. Yep. Mhm.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, awesome. Thank you for sharing. Our viewers get to know a little bit about you folks. So, what we like to do now is we like to actually hit some street angles. What are people saying out there about time? And so we're going to turn to the TV over here. We've asked a question. The question is, you can look to the screen here with me, and it says here, do you feel in control of your time, or does time control you? And how's your time management? So Rob said this: some days I wish I had more than 24 hours. Even with a digital planner, paper agenda, and a big whiteboard,
Mhm.
I still lose track of priorities and my day turns into a mess. You guys, what do you think? What's Rob saying? We'll turn here. Ladies first, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's exactly what I was talking about. You have 24 hours, and even, you have intentions for the day, things that you want to get done, but it's very hard, especially if you're neurodivergent, you have ADHD. It's
Oh
really
man.
hard to focus on what needs to
Yes.
be done in what order, and then you see something over here needs to be done and something over there needs to be done, and I didn't think about that thing. And pretty soon it's all chaos and the
Right.
day is done. And you may feel like you've accomplished some things, but other things you're like, I feel like I didn't do anything today because there's still so much on my list. And the list is endless. I feel
Right.
like lists never end. You will never get to at the end of it. I
Right.
tried, I never get there. So I'm
Oh
pretty sure
man.
lists will just always be there.
Right. Right. Right.
Definitely.
Yeah.
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 Well, I think he's speaking to me,
Yeah.
especially when he talks about the digital tools.
Right.
The amount of apps that I have downloaded to
Oh
help me
man.
with this,
Oh
different
yeah.
sorts of checklists, and they're all synced with the cloud, and they sound so
Yes.
promising. And then when you try to apply it and you work on it, you start to realize, oh, okay, this is not working out. So it's tough. I definitely feel what he's saying.
Yeah, no kidding. Absolutely. It's like, yes, I mean, I'm the same way, right? You got your
Hmm.
technology, you've got your different things synced and ready to go. And then the question is, am I actually going back to it and staying focused? And
Exactly.
Yeah.
you touched on ADHD. It's like, I think it's very easy to say, well, I got ADHD. It's like very
Yeah.
easy to
Hmm.
get distracted,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I think that there is someone, well, the devil's there to try to distract us
Yeah.
from really focusing. And so as we're talking here, we know there's viewers who are struggling with this topic. So
Hmm.
awesome. Okay, we've got another video here, or we got a video now. So let's take a look.
Well, people said that computers would make us more time free with our family and etc. But today I feel, after working my whole life with a computer, that's actually the computer manages my time. It's way more information, is way more content all the time that I need to be working with. And every time my computer or my phone chimes, I need to jump in right away because we have bills to pay. So I would say that I need to be honest and say that I work probably 2/3 of the time that I'm awake, and I have to prioritize work over family, unfortunately. That's a shame, which I'm trying to change, but for sure my time management is over the work that I need to do instead of the things that I want to do or make.
Mhm.
Wow. What Everton just shared is very deep. He said a lot of different things, but please share.
Definitely. Yeah, I think he touched on that technology piece again.
I know. I know.
And technology, at least as it's advertised, sometimes it's set up to be, well, this is going to be your quote unquote savior. It's going
Right.
to
Right.
help you with your time. It's going to make you more efficient. But
Right.
as he mentioned, sometimes it adds more,
That's right.
right? It adds more distraction because there's
Yes.
so much different things that you can do
That's
on
right.
your computer, on your cell phone,
That's right.
notifications constantly coming up,
Yes.
the dinging that take the bell from your phone.
Exactly. Exactly. I've got it on do
Yeah.
not disturb mode.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it almost becomes a distraction in itself.
Right.
And even trying to learn how to use these apps, it's almost
I
like
know.
you need time management just to learn them.
Mm, yep.
So true,
Mhm.
right?
All
Yeah.
those
So
settings.
yeah, all the settings, and you have to plan to use the planner in a sense. And
Yes.
it just adds more weight to your day.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow.
Yeah, I find when I pick up my phone to check my list to see what's next, I end up checking other things at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then time can get away from you, especially as a stay at home mom. At work, I found that I really didn't look at my phone because I had work to do. It wasn't really around. I didn't have time for that. But now nobody's looking over my shoulder saying, you shouldn't be on your phone. And so
Right.
I can just look at my phone and just get lost in it a lot of times. And so it's really hard. Like, I feel like I have to go back to the basics and start using the whiteboard. Like he mentioned,
Yes.
Rob mentioned the whiteboard. I think that's a
Yes.
great idea, using non-tech way to keep track of things.
Right.
But yeah, you get lost there for sure.
Yeah.
I'll just share. I was at a conference a
Please.
couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
and one of the topics came up about time.
Right.
And so we were given this activity to do. There's about 200 people in the room. And he would say, write down the 3 things that you wish you had more time with. Okay.
Mm.
And so I jotted mine down,
Yeah.
and everybody did. And then we were asked to stand up and just find any random person and share the list.
Really?
So I might have talked about 4 or 5 people. And the one thing that came up on everybody's list, including mine, was family time.
Really?
Mhm. It's
Wow.
such an issue today, especially, I mean, when you think about just the work in general. We have this technology, we can work from home. It's almost opened up the door to make work not a 9 to 5 thing, but a
Right.
24/7 thing.
I think family time is really important. We have been given the responsibility as mothers and fathers, to steward our families. And we can get lost in, all the different things that we get busy with, whether for me, sometimes I just get so busy with things that need to be done in the house.
Right.
And for husbands, just that provider aspect of feeling like you need to provide for your family. And so work has to be important.
Yes. Yes.
But I think sometimes there's that necessity of kind of reframing and looking at things a little bit differently.
Right.
I remember my sister sharing a story with me when she was in university. A professor had asked them to write down their 3 top hobbies.
Okay.
And everyone wrote down their hobbies. And he said, okay, now next to that hobby, put the amount of minutes that you spend on that hobby. Right.
Right.
And, for my sister, she loves swimming. We both love swimming. We
Oh,
grew up
nice.
swimming. And she was like, in a week, probably like 0 minutes, maybe 30 minutes or something like that. But
Right.
sometimes we don't spend enough time on the things that are really important, that should be important.
Right.
We get lost with everything else. And so, especially like I said, in that, husband provider role, and just really wanting to be able to give your family the things that they need. A lot of times we will say God and family are top, but are we putting the majority of our time to those top 2 things that we say
Right.
are most important? How much energy and time are we really putting into that? And sometimes just that reframing of knowing what's most important, what I want to put most of my energy into, just helps us kind of look towards that goal, and kind of just puts us in a, we're just able to manage our time a little bit better because we
Right.
know what we're trying to work towards.
Right.
But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah.
for me, it's like, because we can take work with us, the dings come in and it's like, oh, it's just one thing. You're there as a family. I just need to do this one thing and it needs to happen now.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering what's going on with Canadian families.
What we've seen is definitely a big part of it is just the trying to keep up with bills and trying to keep up with, social expectations of, friendships and different things, things that are important, but our attention is just getting pulled so many different directions. But also social media is a really big one.
Right.
Social media has really taken over, our attention, and we think we're being social and we think we're connecting with people, but really we're not.
Right.
And it's taking away that opportunity to connect with people in real life, with our families,
Yes.
with our friends even. We're seeing a lot of teenagers, just spending increasing amounts of time on social media and on gaming and all of that.
Right.
And they're not able to have friendships or even relationships. I think I saw one statistic that said 10 or 20 years ago, over 50, I think it was like 80% or something like that of grade 12 students had found a relationship. They were dating someone, and now the statistics have dropped below 50%. That
Wow.
grade 12 students are finding a relationship, dating someone, right? So intimate connections, we're just losing them. But even for adults, we feel that pressure, that ding went off. I need to go check what it is. It's an email. It might be from work. It's time sensitive. And so definitely like having boundaries around that. We talk a lot about boundaries now.
Yes.
And usually when we
yes.
talk about boundaries, we're talking about, like with relationships and like
Yes.
trying to like set boundaries with this person that's
Exactly.
annoying me. But a lot of times boundaries needs to be just like protecting your family, protecting your mental health and your peace. And just knowing that this ding that just went off, how awesome does it feel when you're talking to someone and their phone goes off and they actually don't break eye contact with you and they just
Right.
continue to speak and they push
Right.
through.
Yeah.
You feel
Right.
so special in that
Yes,
moment. Like,
you
wow,
do.
you didn't
Yeah.
look at your phone.
Wow.
We need to do more of that, set boundaries around our time and how important that time is.
Yo, Matt, you know what? When you said that, I remembered when I first got married to Raquel. We've been married almost 32 years now. And I remember when the phone would ring, okay? We didn't have these back then, okay? When the phone would ring, we could be at the supper table and the phone rang. I stood to attention. I ran to it. And she's like, stop. There's an answering machine for a reason, right?
Yeah.
It's like it can wait. And if
Yeah.
it's serious, the person will keep on phoning, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Definitely.
And I just like, so she really helped me with that. But that was back then. Now it's
It's in your
exponentially
pocket.
worse.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was doing a bit of research into the workforce
Right.
and the amount of hours that are spent. Now, maybe 100 years ago, they were going to work maybe 15 hours a day, which is much more
Right.
than we do now.
Yes.
Right now, we're probably averaging about 8 or 9.
Right.
Now, you might think that that is an improvement.
Right.
However, we seem to have put more
Mm.
in that 8 or 9 hour
Right.
than they probably had in that 15 hour at the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe when they got home, they left work at work and they're at home to spend time with family.
Mm.
Right.
But as a teacher, I find with me, I'm at school, I'm working all day, and then I'm going home and I'm bringing it home
right.
as well. Not even just physically, but even mentally.
I know.
You're
I
just
know.
always thinking about work at all
Right.
times.
But I just wonder, like, the reality is that we're being bombarded with the information we're getting now, like people did not have access to it,
Mm.
even
Mhm.
on a Sunday newspaper. Like what we can read in just like 15, 20 minutes,
Mhm.
people wouldn't get that in for years ago, right?
Hmm.
We're being bombarded left, right, and center with topics. I didn't even think about that. And the algorithms are constantly trying to get us because we're searching for different things here. And then it's okay, this guy likes this. So we're going to feed this guy this more and more, right? And so we're looking at work. But back then, were they were busy. You're like 15 hours. Like,
Definitely.
I remember my parents, they came from Portugal. I think your family's from Portugal too, right? And I remember my grandpa would go there in the summertime and they would go, it's like sun up and they were already in the fields, right? And they would come back for breakfast and then back in the fields, come back for lunch.
Interesting. Yeah.
They didn't have this. So they would eat lunch together, right? They'd eat breakfast together. And then I love what my grandpa used to do. He would, after lunch, have a siesta. Oh, man. I love holidays for siesta time. Just give me a little nap. I remember seeing my dad sleep. It's like, come on, Dad. Why do you want to sleep? I'm like, I'm there now. I was like, I want to sleep, right? So, and then in the evening, back for supper. They would work long days, but they would have the supper together. And then, of course, early to bed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the interesting thing about that too, is that they were busy and long hours, but also the work that most people were doing was very physical labor.
Yes.
Probably outside, if you're a farmer, you're working the fields, you're outside, you're getting that sunlight, you're getting that physical work, exercise in that way. You're getting that sunshine, you're getting that movement that, we talk about anger and things like that. Exercise is a great way to get up all that, those pent up emotions, physical, exercise. And so even though they were busy, also the work that they were doing and the way that things were where they were actually intentionally eating without distraction and things like that was still a better quality than now. A lot of jobs are on a computer and your back is hunched over and you're not in the sun and you're not having enough energy at the end of the day for exercise. And so even though it was busy, it was just a busy that looked a little bit different.
Yes.
And so they were probably still able to have a lot better mental health than we do now.
Think so.
So, yeah.
I think so.
And just to touch on that too, it sounded like when you were explaining that, there was a rhythm to it.
Yeah.
A very natural rhythm where there was work and then there was some form of rest. Even if it was a short period of rest, there was some form of rest and you went back and you came back. So there was definitely a natural sort of feel or rhythm to it. And I think that really helps if we find a rhythm in our own lives.
Right.
With this time management piece. Definitely.
Yeah. In fact, just yesterday as I was studying on this, I came across a study that was saying, a professor was talking about this where it's like, okay, the reality is we're not farmers now. Most of us aren't farmers, right?
Yeah.
It's very different. We don't go to our backyard and plant, vegetables back there. So it's, we just go to Costco, wherever we go, right? Our superstore, whatever, and pick up our food. But we need to be able to figure out how to be able to manage our time. And so, and I've heard what the professor said yesterday, I've heard multiple times. It's like for 30 minutes of work, that's, engaged, not being interrupted by your technology. You're engaged, stop for 5 minutes and just get up, talk to someone, walk around briskly and then hit it back again.
Yeah.
Helps us rather than just stay go and go and go. It's important.
Yeah, and actually, I think there was a study I saw exactly about that.
Okay.
About micro breaks, and it basically said it links to better well-being, better job performance, and lower stress when we can take those micro breaks consistently in our lives.
I think sometimes even as a stay-at-home mom, even moments of just sitting down and reading a book together or sitting down and sharing a meal, it still is a break in some way. And then also I just have to be very intentional with in the evening when my husband comes home.
Yes.
I'm off duty. And
He's
it's
on
time for
duty.
he's on duty.
Oh, no. But
And
he was working all day. People say he worked all day.
We were both working all day.
There you go. Oh,
No,
I
but
love that.
yeah, you know,
Both.
it's you know, I definitely see obviously, I mean, homeschooling, if I was, you know, a teacher in a school, I'd be getting paid for it, but I'm doing it at home.
That's
So
right.
it's still
Yeah.
similar, and for him it's a break from his work,
That's right.
from his day, what he's been doing, and for me being able to step away from it, that's my break from what I've been doing all day. And for
Yeah.
him, that's connection time with his child, and
Mhm.
you know, and for
And
me,
connection time with child is not on the technology.
yes, that's right. Face-to-face interaction. We're looking at each other in our eyes. That's another thing that I find, is that we're not looking at each other in the eyes anymore.
Right.
And that has such a, that's how we connect, is by looking at one another.
Mhm.
And if you're not taking the time to look in your child's face a lot,
Right.
you know, then we're losing connection with that person. We're losing connection with our child. You know, couples going on dates, that face-to-face time, right? It's
Yes.
wonderful to go to the movies and watch a movie, but are we looking at each other in our faces, like when we go out to dinner and things like that? Definitely putting the phone away during a dinner date.
Yes.
But yeah, just like for me, just taking that time at the end of the day to step away. And whether it's, you know, maybe I didn't get up early enough that morning and I
Right.
want to do my worship time, so
Right.
I'm going to do it now, or I want to go exercise, or I want to go visit a friend, or I want to go to a Bible study. And so trying to still be intentional, even though I'm at home a lot of the day. I mean, we're outside of the home a lot with field trips and just being outside, but just, you know, kind of being in that environment of like on mom,
Right.
and just knowing that I'm more than a mom, and I have other things that I want to be able to accomplish and do, and just taking the time to take that little break away and reset
Yeah.
for the next
Yes.
day.
Yeah.
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 And you know, you're hitting on something so important because in our society today, because things have become so expensive,
Yeah.
many of our moms have been forced to go into the workplace.
Mhm.
And let me just say this, they want to go into the workplace.
Yeah.
They feel fulfilled by that.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side, I've heard people say, well, you're just at home. What are you
Mhm.
doing all day? And you're with the
Mhm.
kids. I'm like,
Yeah.
you're giving me that look, Lori. You know, it's like,
There's
come
so
on.
much.
Yes, it's a full-time job. And, you know, my wife also homeschooled our kids and is right now with our daughter. And so I look at the importance of the mom in the home and the tension, really, Johan, that there
Yeah.
exists now with moms, because now most of them are forced to go into the workplace to be able to make ends meet and yet
Yeah.
still have to maintain, quote unquote, the home and the kids and everything. And that's where, you know, we look at this here and it can go more and more and more. And I look at, okay, can I be very honest? I look at sometimes in our home, I get home, I kiss my wife, I give my kids a hug. How are you guys doing? We sit on the sofa, and then it's like,
When the first responder on the social media talked about wanting more than 24 hours, that
Right.
brings up some red flags for me,
Right.
because that's saying that I want to do more. I want to be
Right.
more productive.
right.
And oftentimes, when you listen to very, very successful people talk about how they got to where they got to, you'll hear some of them saying things like, well, I'm just always on. I'm working constantly. I don't sleep. I barely get any rest.
Oh, yeah.
And it seems like there is a value attached to busyness,
right.
right? The more busy you are,
Whoa.
the more work you're doing, the more successful you are,
Important.
the more important you are, and
Yeah.
the more money you can accumulate.
Right.
But that is just going to lead to, as you talked about, burnout.
right.
If you don't know when to turn it off. I mean, I've experienced it.
Yeah.
I've had times where I'm working at school and then I'm going home and I'm working constantly until I really was burned out and felt overwhelmed. And I just said to myself, I got to find a better way to do this. And so what I started doing was I started blocking time on a calendar.
Okay.
Right?
That- you're already hitting our
Oh,
thing here.
okay.
Excellent. Blocking time.
Yeah. So, for example, with lesson plans, like you have to get them in a certain day of the week. Now, there's a couple of options. You can just do it all the night before,
Right.
which I don't recommend.
Right. Oh, family time.
But sometimes that's what ends up happening,
Yes,
right? To be
yes.
realistic. So I started blocking it. I was saying, okay, on Sunday, I'm going to look at my standards. What am I trying to teach for this week? On Monday, let me focus on math. On Tuesday, I'm going to focus on language. On Wednesday, etc. Right?
Right.
Before you know it, after about a whole month doing that, it felt a lot less stressful.
Right.
And I had my weekends back too.
You're kidding me.
Yeah,
Excellent. So what you're really saying is prioritizing.
exactly.
So really that's one of the techniques they say. You've got to prioritize what's urgent versus what's important.
Mhm.
And there's a difference,
Yeah.
right? There's a difference. And when you think about prioritizing, how do you do that?
Yeah, I think planning for it before the moment happens. One of the
Right.
tools that we use with young children and managing behaviors is like planning for the moment before it happens. Like,
Right.
you know that when you turn off the TV, there's going to be a meltdown. So we're
Yeah.
going to plan ahead and we're going to say, okay, I know that at 4:30 when I turn off the TV, my child is going to have a meltdown. So now that everything is good, I'm going to plan, what am I going to do when they have that meltdown?
Right.
How am I going to react? What am I going to say? How am I going to reroute this energy? And so planning before
Yes.
so that when the moment happens, you're prepared. You're
Right.
ready to manage this big event that's just about to happen.
Right.
And similarly, right,
Yes.
it applies to so many things.
Absolutely.
Similarly, with our time, we have to plan in advance. Successful businesses, they will sit down and have a board meeting, and we will plan for the year. What are our goals for the year? What are we going to work on? What are we doing? And that is how a successful business runs. They
Right.
plan in advance. And then you have to block off time
Yes.
That's
to make
right.
sure that it's planned well so that you're already prepared for, the month that's coming ahead or the year that's coming ahead, and you're able to be a bit more intentional with your time. And I think that's the key, is just being intentional, knowing what you are working towards, what you want
Right.
to work towards.
So it's like, okay, so the devil's really there to try to derail us so that we're not prioritizing our time. We're not organizing ourselves, because we do need to be organized so
Yes.
that we can actually, as you said,
Yeah.
Johan, actually have more time,
Mhm.
right? And then setting boundaries and saying no.
And we feel that everything that we are asked is a necessity. But really, again, planning ahead for that week and knowing, hey, like Monday and Tuesday, I have a lot going on. Wednesday, I'm not going to be able to handle this social thing. And it might be something that you really wanted to go to.
Right.
But planning in advance, knowing that if I do this thing, by the time I get to the end of the week, I'm going to be burnt out.
Yeah.
And I don't want that feeling. So I'm going to
Right,
plan ahead over
right,
here and say
right.
no over here and over here. And you
Yes.
learn over time, like what you can handle and what's too much.
Right.
But planning that accordingly, of knowing that just because you've been asked something, or just because it's something that you might really want to go to, you do have the power to say no and protect your mental health and your time.
Yeah, for sure. For
Yeah,
sure.
you definitely got to protect it. I mean, sometimes the guilt kind of sets in.
Yes.
If you say no.
I know.
It's really difficult, but it is something that's very important. And I guess you have to just kind of rip the Band-Aid off
Right. Right.
and really practice, saying no, and also realizing that if you say no, it doesn't mean that your relationship, and whatever format it's in, is over. And
Right.
sometimes you worry about things like
Or
that.
they won't ask you again.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's something that you have to mentally prepare yourself for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think also knowing that when you say, sometimes we think if we say yes to everything, that people will think that I can handle a lot, I'm successful, I can do all these things. But a lot of times saying no actually signals to people that I prioritize.
That's right.
I
That's right.
respect my time.
Yes. Yes.
I'm not always going to say yes.
That's right.
And that's okay. And it's actually something like commendable to do.
Yes.
Yeah.
A lot of times we think that people may look at us negatively. But I actually find it quite commendable and
Right.
respectable
Yes.
when I ask someone and they say, no, you know what? I'm not going to have time this week. And
Right.
I'm like, wow, this person actually respects their time.
That's right.
And I'll ask you again another time. We can revisit this.
Yeah.
But that's great for you, that,
Yeah.
that you're able to manage that. I think it's actually something respectable and not have to worry that people might be looking at you
Right.
negatively if you
Right.
say no.
All right. Well, a question for you is, do you usually feel like you have enough time in your day? Yes or no, or sometimes. Let us know. All right. Well, we want to invite you to scan the QR code available on the screen right now, or go straight to HopeStudy.ca. And please follow us on social media at HopeStudy.ca. All right. Well, our transition question here. If our time is limited, and we know it is, then the real question is, what matters most? And what do we give our best hours to?
We sometimes get lost a lot in like what our purpose is. And, we wonder, God, like, what is my purpose? What am I supposed to do? And things like that. But the Bible is very clear on what our purpose is.
Right.
And that's to go out and make disciples of all nations.
Right.
And so when we have that mission statement in mind, that, we're using the things that have been given to us in front of us, the talents that God has given us, the job, the business that God
That's
has
right.
given us. We're using it for His honor and glory. And that is our purpose. If you own a gym, ask the Lord, how do I dedicate this gym to you? How do I
Right,
use
right.
my gym to make disciples, to
Right.
get people to ask questions
Yeah.
or talk about Jesus? If I own a nail salon, how do I use my business to honor and glorify God? The Lord will lead us into what that looks like.
Right.
But also just having that mindset of whatever I'm doing in front of me. I think a lot of times we think that Great Commission is given to a missionary or a pastor.
Right.
But it's
No.
given to all of
That's
us.
right.
And we just have to use the things that God has given us. If it's our home,
My kind of philosophy on my purpose is to love God
Right.
and love my neighbor. So thinking about the Great Commission, if I love my neighbor, I want to be able to share this
Yes.
gospel
That's right.
with them.
That's
So
right.
in everything I do, that should be the center of my focus.
Yes.
But also I need to love God. Time management is even an issue for us, spending
Yes.
time with God.
You
Yes,
hit it.
yeah.
You hit it.
It's
Yeah.
quite an issue that we're facing more and more
Yeah.
as all the things we talked about today with social media, with the workload increasing and the busyness that's coming with our society. The greatest downfall of our lives is losing that time with God.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was something that my father instilled in my family when I was younger. Like, I remember being a child, it was a bit much, I felt,
Yeah.
from my perspective at that time. You had to wake up at 6 a.m., have morning worship.
Yes.
We got home, we had
Yes.
to have evening worship. And then we had the Friday worship, which
Oh,
was
man.
about 2 or 3 times longer than that.
Right. Right.
But at the time, I probably didn't appreciate all that I learned from that.
Right.
Just being in a relationship with God, knowing my scriptures and maintaining my relationship throughout the years with Him
Right. Right.
was the foundation of that were those early years.
We're talking now about God and you talked about prioritizing God. You talked about, being raised and growing up, and it was worship in the morning, worship in the evening. Then Friday it was 3 times longer, and it's like, oh my word. It's like, but you are being taught discipline. And discipline is an important thing that all of us need to learn.
Yep.
And put it into our own lives. And so we're going to go into the Word of God right now and see what the Word of God has to teach about not just discipline, but disciplining our time, right? Lorianne, I think you've got a Bible text there, Ecclesiastes
Yes.
3, verse 1 and 2. Can you share that
Yeah.
with us and just break it down for us after?
Yeah. So Ecclesiastes chapter 3, verses 1 and 2 says, "There is an occasion for everything and a time for every activity under heaven, a time to give birth and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to uproot."
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. When I think of that, I'm thinking about, we kind of just talked a little bit about business. So now business is in my head. But,
Right.
there are seasons where you're starting a business. and things are going to get a little crazy.
That's
You know,
right.
you're going to be putting some
Yeah.
extra time and effort
Right.
into this business that you're opening. But a lot of times, you know, especially if we're being led by the Lord to open this business, things are not always going to be
Yeah.
perfect where I have managed my time beautifully
Right.
and I have
Right.
gotten to the point where I'm spending more time with my family and everything is great. There are going to be seasons where it looks different.
Yes.
Maybe there's a death in the family. Things are going to
Yes.
look different.
Mhm.
And so we have to allow space for that. And the Lord is so gracious and merciful, and He's walking with us throughout that. You know, we're not just alone the whole time that we're, you know, doing this other thing or going through a period of mourning or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And so there is a time and season for everything, and it will look different sometimes,
right.
and that's okay.
Yeah.
Time management is naturally built in to the world,
Yeah.
right? When we think about even the idea of farming, or
That's
this
right.
the day I learned that if I continually grow something in one spot, eventually it's not going to reap
Mm-hmm.
harvest
Right.
anymore, and I have to move it, it's called,
Yeah.
into another area
That's right.
to give the ground some time to rest. I mean,
Oh man.
that is so
Yes.
natural, right?
Yes.
And so when you think about it, our society, we kind of have this hustle mentality. We're always hustling,
Yeah.
constantly. But the Bible tells us, no, there is a time for everything. The seasons, there's cycles, everything.
Right.
I was teaching a lesson the other day in science to my students, and that whole idea of the lesson was there are cycles that exist
Right.
in the universe. There's
Right.
a water cycle, there's a carbon cycle, there's a nitrogen cycle,
Right.
there's day and night.
Right.
Everything is built around this aspect
Cycles.
of rhythms.
Yeah.
It's just a natural thing. So we're kind of going against what's natural
Right.
if we're constantly going forward, we're constantly pursuing things and not taking that time to rest.
Right. Right. Wonderful. You've got a Bible verse for
Yeah.
us. It's Matthew 6, and you've got a few verses. So Matthew 6, let me just jump over there quickly
Oh, yeah,
here.
sure.
Verse 26, and then 33 and 34.
Okay, so let's take a look. It says in verse 26, "Look at the birds of the air, for they neither sow nor reap nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not of more value than they?"
Okay,
Which-
so go ahead. You.
Okay, which of you by worrying can add 1 cubit to his stature?
It's like,
Mm-hmm.
What's that saying?
Oh, wow. It says a lot. It says a lot, but it's basically telling us that we needn't worry. I mean, that's a very simple response, but really and truly, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
We talked during this discussion about the idea of value
Right.
being attached to kind of our busyness.
Right.
And so we feel that we have to constantly be going at 100 miles an hour
Right.
each and every day. But there's great anxiety in our lives, especially in the economy that we're living in today, where, you know, the prices are going up. We have
That's right.
these new tariffs that are rippling through our economy.
Yeah, that's right.
So if you really think about it, if you talk to people, if you just see the mood of people, there's a lot of anxiety. There's a lot of angst that's taking place right now. People are unsure of what's going to happen tomorrow,
That's right.
right? But the scripture tells us, look at the birds of the air. I take care of everything.
Right. Right.
This is God speaking to us.
Yeah.
And we really need to put our faith and trust in him and
That's right.
know that he will carry us through.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And then there's verse 33 and 34.
Okay, so verse 33 says, "But seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things shall be added to you. Therefore, do not worry about tomorrow, for tomorrow will worry about its own things.
Oh man.
Sufficient for the day, its own trouble."
Oh, easier said than done.
Yeah.
Oh man. No kidding.
Yeah, but I mean, it's the same sort of theme that we're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, don't worry.
Yeah.
I can imagine God telling me, "Johan, I got your back."
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Right?
Right.
Just continue to love me,
yeah.
to worship me, to love your neighbor as yourself, and I will ensure that everything works according to plan.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
If I don't start the day with quiet Bible time before my day begins, and my son wakes up at the same time as me, and then it's like go go go, I'm hungry, I'm this, everything's going on, and things get lost, right? And
They
my
do.
head is just like spinning from all the fast things that I
Exactly.
have to do when, once the kids wake up. And so really trying to prioritize that time like first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to look that way. Again, like we go through seasons. Sometimes it may look like you're having it in the evening instead,
Right.
or in the middle of the day during lunchtime. It as long as we can fit it in there, the Lord is not like it wasn't this morning. But it
Right.
really does feel good to start the
Yes.
first thing,
Definitely.
first
Yes.
morning with prayer time and just setting that intention for the day and saying, like for me, Lord, give me the patience that I need to get me through the day.
Yes. Yes.
Help me have the conversations that I need to have with
That's
the people that I
right.
meet today.
That's right.
And just setting your day up for success that way.
I was doing devotion with my students
Yeah.
this week, and
Which
this
one
was
is
the
it?
main text. Proverbs chapter 16, verse 9. In their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. I mean, going back to your piece, Lori, when you were talking about waking up in the morning and first thing praying to God, I think that's you trusting God and saying, God, order my steps. I know we have our
Right.
own plans,
Yeah.
what we want to do, and
Yes.
our own
Yes.
goals and our own vision. But God also has plans that obviously
Yes.
supersede ours.
That's right.
And when we learn to walk lock and step with Him,
That's right.
everything will just work out.
Yeah.
We'll be more efficient. We'll feel happier. In discipline, there's freedom.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
I love that. That's so true. I just looking at that again, a man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Which then takes me, of course, to that text in Proverbs 3, verse 5, right? It says, Proverbs 3, 4, verse 5, it says, trust. Man, I said 3 times. Woo! Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths. So there's something so important that happens when we put God first, acknowledge Him, and trust that His ways are better than mine. Right? There's one more thing that I believe that the Bible has given us that's probably one of the most powerful things that helps humans with time. And I think we know what that is. We're going to go to Exodus 20. Let's take a look here because there's something that God created right in the beginning of time for us, and He established it right in the beginning of the Bible. We see it, but we're going to read it from Exodus because it was a time where the children of Israel were being taken out of Egyptian bondage. They were there for 400 and some years in Egyptian bondage. And so they kind of lost what God had originally taught them right in the Garden of Eden because God created it right there in Genesis. We have that first 6 days that were created. And of course, Adam and Eve were created. And then God created the 7th day and He hallowed it. He separated it. He made it holy. And that wasn't for the Jewish nation. That was set up right there in Genesis 2 for humanity. A day that was set out in time. It was like a temple in time. And if there was 2 things that came out of the Garden of Eden, it was marriage and it was the Sabbath, the temple in time. And many times, God created the Sabbath. Well, why did He create the Sabbath? Did God need to rest? No, God didn't need to rest because He's all powerful, He's all knowing, and He doesn't tire, right? He doesn't sleep, right? But there was something important that God was teaching humanity right in the beginning, time. And so now we're looking at Exodus 20, and it's powerful. So we're going to read that together. Exodus 20, verse 4. Where it says this, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. He didn't say Yeah, he just started, remember. Why did he say remember? Because we forget,
Yes.
right? We
Yeah.
need to be reminded, and that for all of us, right?
Yeah.
Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord your God, which, by the way, the seventh day is the Saturday. That's clear.
Yeah.
Right? That's with, you can't dispute that. And then it says this, in it you shall do no work. And then it says, nor your son, your daughter, your male servant, your female servant, nor your cattle, nor your stranger who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is in them. And the Lord rested the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and he hallowed it. God created the Sabbath for us to stop.
The Sabbath is a gift for us. And it's not lost on me that in creation, we have nature, then people were created, and then it ended with the Sabbath.
Right.
And when it comes to anxiety and depression, the top 3 things that heal and help with depression is nature, being with friends, and rest.
Right.
And that was just like the perfect equation there of like, these things I made for you.
Right.
To be in nature, to
Right.
enjoy the things that I have created,
Yeah.
to be together in relationships.
That's right.
And then to just rest.
Right.
And I truly think he had our generation in mind when he
did.
created the
Yeah,
Sabbath.
absolutely.
Because again, he knew that we would forget.
Yeah.
We would get so busy with our businesses, with all the other things that we have to do. We'd be working 7 days a week with no rest. And then here we are depleted. We can no longer steward the things that the Lord has given us to steward.
Right.
We can no longer be intentional with our families. We can no longer work very well.
Right.
And so just building in that, like, remember the Sabbath, take a beat, enjoy nature,
Yes.
enjoy fellowship,
Yes.
worship, rest.
Right. Right.
And that is the equation for, just health, mental health, time management, everything. It's built in right there.
It sure is. And you know what's amazing? When we think about the Sabbath right now, Charlie Kirk, God rest his soul. I mean, he spoke of the Sabbath powerfully about a lot of things. He was like, I really liked watching him speak. He was very engaging, very strong, and he really talked about the Sabbath. And he was intentional about saying how the Sabbath saved his family and preserved his work. I found that very interesting. It saved his family, preserved his work. And I remember, his dear wife talking about, it's like, he was a different man when the Sabbath came into his life. And for me, the Sabbath, I'm a minister. So Sabbath is like those days I'm, preaching, talking a sermon and, in churches and stuff. But it's so different. Like when Friday sunset to Saturday sunset, because that's how the days are defined, right? In creation, right?
Yeah.
From sunset to sunrise, right? That's how the days were defined.
And the whole idea of remembering is so important.
Yeah.
And the way the 10 Commandments are structured, this is the one where it breaks a little bit. It starts at the beginning and then it breaks
Yeah.
into something else. But that whole idea of remembering,
Yeah.
we need time to remember that God is the creator.
Yes.
And not only that, but he's the one that sustains our lives.
Right.
And so when we do that weekly, we remember our story
Right.
each and every week to remember that this is who we are. We are a people of purpose.
Yeah.
And with a
That's
purpose.
right.
In fact, as you mentioned, this takes place in Genesis at the beginning
Right.
of the world.
Right.
Everyone, the 7-8 billion people on this earth,
Right.
this is a mandate to them as well.
That's right.
And they
Thank
need-
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Sabbath has always been my favorite day of the week ever
Oh,
since I was a
man.
little girl. I remember having this thought, like we had in our house growing up, we had this kind of stained glass window up high in our entrance area. And I remember Sabbath morning, it just like like every Sabbath, there was sun shining through that window,
Wow.
and it would just cast this beautiful, colorful shadow on the wall. And there was this warmth in that entrance. And I just remember thinking, like, Sabbath is my favorite day because it's when the sun is shining the brightest,
Oh,
is
wow. Isn't
Sabbath
that so
morning.
cool?
And
Yeah.
so I've always felt that, the Sabbath, there is just this feeling when the Sabbath comes that is like, it's really hard to describe.
It is.
But there's just this rest and this settling that happens in your body
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
for the next 24 hours,
Yes.
you're just in like absolute like connection with others and ministry still, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Churches are still, going to feed the homeless on a Saturday afternoon, we're still in ministry, but it's just, there's no work. There's no worrying about where your money is going to come from or, all the things that you have to accomplish and do. So there's just this settling that happens. And this warmth, I feel like I've always just felt this warmth on Sabbath morning.
Wow.
Yeah.
Me too. Me too. Well, as we're winding down, we've talked about some important things. So we've looked at this. Make a simple daily plan. Work, rest, reflection. Schedule breaks and leisure time intentionally, right? Put family time there, right? And prioritize relationship and getting out in fresh air, right, with family. Reflect weekly on what's truly important, Managing time well is so important.
Yes.
We can't measure that, right? Well, very good. Well, for more guidance on balancing work, life, and spiritual reflections, you can visit HopeStudy.ca, where you'll find resources, guides, and inspiration to live beyond the clock. It's a free resource, and you can also scan the QR code on your screen. And let's keep the conversation going. Follow us on social media and join the community at HopeStudy.ca. Man, Lori, I just want to thank you for being here. If people wanted to get a hold of you, how could they get a hold of you?
Well, they could try my email, maybe.
Okay.
So it's Loriann, LORIANN .Oliveira, OLIVEIRA @yahoo.com. And if there's any questions or anything, I can answer them there.
All right. Very good. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And Johan, how can
Yes.
people get a hold of you if they wanted to?
Email is a good for me as well. So that's johanlue @outlook.com. So that's JOHANNLUE @outlook.com.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. Well, Loriann, would you mind closing us with prayer?
Yes,
Thank you.
absolutely. Thank you so much, Lord, just for the opportunity to come together and have important conversations and just learn more about you, learn about how important our time is to you and how important it is for us to just be intentional with our time, with spending time with you and spending time with our families, and just the reminder of putting you first and having your mission that you have for us in mind, and always checking in with you and seeing, Lord, what is it that you want for me, that you want for my
That's
family,
right.
that you want me to do?
Mhm.
How do you want to me to spend my time? And we just thank you for that. Thank you for being so gracious and merciful with us
Yes.
when we get it wrong and our time is a little bit of a mess. But
Yes.
we're always thankful that with you, things are put back on track. And
Yes.
Lord, I thank you again for this opportunity for us to come together. And Lord, I just pray over the people who are listening right now. And if they are
Yes.
struggling with their time and knowing what their time should look like, what they can do to be more intentional with it, Lord, that you will just reveal it to them, that you will put the right people in their lives to help them walk that path, that they will be able to seek enjoyment in fellowship and in relationship with you, and in having a Sabbath in their week, Lord. Thank you so much. We love you, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. If you felt blessed by this episode, you can help this ministry grow by becoming an agent of hope. Check out agentsofhope.ca to see how Hope Channel Canada is impacting lives. Visit agentsofhope.ca and join us as an agent of hope today. Remember, you can find hope and answers to life's biggest questions right here in the Word of God. He loves you.